Hi, this is Asha from Nizhny Caucasus, and welcome to another episode of the Caucasus podcast. Another episode, another year of learning Georgian, Armenian and Azerbaijani is behind us, and it's behind us because I'm also learning all three of these languages. And today, as you ask us to do, by the way, at the beginning of each and every year, and that was the feedback we received after the summary of 2024, I'll share with you my top 5. So top 5 things that helps me and was helping me in 2025 when I was learning Georgian, Armenian and Azerbaijani. And just a reminder, I'm currently learning each of these languages with a teacher. So our wonderful teachers in Nizhny Caucasus languages of the Caucasus, our center, and each at different level, of course, but the methods for fluent learning and described in today's episode, they do work for me in all of these three, regardless of my level of knowledge of this language. Now, just before we begin, let me remind you that you can listen to the Caucasus podcast on YouTube or as well in your favorite podcasting app. So no matter where you are listening to us right now, you can always change the source if you prefer. And also you can not only listen, but also read the whole episode at our website, języknicaukazu.pl. And the direct link for that, for this episode, you will find in the description. So let's start with my list of things that helps me learn Georgian, Armenian and Azerbaijani. So the first one would be to prioritize and prioritizing your own learning. Exactly. So I study with teachers, as I said. I'm not studying just on my own, but that doesn't change the fact that most of my learning happens outside of the class or in between the lessons. So revisions, repetitions, exercises, additional ones, listenings, these are all the things that, if you have time, are really worth doing in between, even if you have classes several times a week. Yeah, we have students, for example, in our on our courses in our center that are learning with us, for example, 2 times a week, 3 times, 4 times. We had also programs that we had classes 5 times a week for some of you. And it is always, no matter how many lessons within the week you have, it is always worth doing something in between. It just makes your also study not only more efficient and effective, but it is also cheaper. If you would do everything just with the teacher, nothing on your own, that would be much more expensive. Yeah, that's the truth. Maybe that would encourage you to do some homework. And what helps and significantly speeds up the learning is prioritizing what you do in between classes. So I've been testing different approaches this year because not always, you have to, let's say, you see the fun in some of the homeworks, etc. But no matter how useful it is, sometimes you think, maybe later. Right now, I will just watch some reel, and about that I will also talk in a second. And the one thing that I saw that works best for me, it is just to do my homework first, no matter what. So before I decide, I look at other study materials, listen to a podcast, or watch a TV series, for example, and then telling myself, Asha, come on, this is learning after all, you can do it. Before any of this, I start with my homework. And if I don't have at least some of my homework done, because I'm not like very strict totally, I need to have at least some of it. If I have more, I don't engage in other forms of revisions, learning, para-learning, etc. I've tested this both as a student and also I've been testing that, let's say, and observing as a teacher. And my conclusion is very clear. And that is, well-designed homeworks always allow you to learn faster, whatever you're currently studying in your class, because it just strengthens your knowledge and helps you revise the vocabulary. Yes, that is it. So if all your study time between classes is spent on a random TV show or YouTube video, even with new, interesting, fascinating words, etc., your progress won't come as quickly, unfortunately. And of course, sometimes homework can be just listening to a podcast, watching a clip from a TV show, or listening to a song, etc. And you sometimes also get such homework in our courses in Języki Kaukazu, Languages of the Caucasus, both in group and during the individual courses, but then they are not just random because they are just chosen for something that would actually may help you learn whatever we are revising right now in the class. And that is a trick, I would say, because this is the work that we do for you. We pick it, we select it, and then we say, no, right now you would use maybe this podcast for a homework. And what definitely helps in learning Georgian, Armenian, and Azerbaijani, it is prioritizing homework. I know, maybe boring, but this is true. So, as we are speaking of live courses with a teacher, if you want to learn Georgian, Armenian, or Azerbaijani in a small group with a teacher, so live but online, in 2026 we are organizing this in English as well, and we decided to organize it as on demand for groups of minimal 3 people or friends or family members that want to study together. And the reason for that is quite simple. At present, we have students from all over the globe, almost, because we have students that are learning with us online or with our study materials from 6 different continents and Antarctica. We are waiting for you with open arms wherever you're ready to study Georgian. So therefore, the time zones management for open group courses that are live, so you're meeting with the group in the same time, no matter your time zone, this proved to be impossible to organize, to manage, etc. And that is why we have decided, so if you and a minimum of your 2 friends or relatives want to study together, we'll create a tailor-made online course with you and for you, so just let us know. And all the details for that you may also find on our website if you're interested in this. If you don't want to learn with group, we have other options and everything we will find on our website on języki.kaukazu.pl. And with this small piece of information, we are going back to our top 5. So the second one, quick revisions. And this is alternative to language immersion. Exactly. So language immersion, if you don't know this term, is a learning method in which you surround yourself with the language everywhere in all your life situations. So, for example, you switch the language on your phone to Armenian. Or if you are in a bilingual family, for example, you use the language you are learning, let's say it's Azerbaijani, all weekend. It's like no matter what you want to say, you try to say it in Azerbaijani. Or let's say you're studying Georgian and you decide that you take all of the notes that it is possible, like you're writing any memos, etc., any grocery shopping list, everything you're writing in Georgian. So for the past few years, it's been, I would say, a hit, a fad on different blogs, also within the language coaches. So now, I might offend some people, or you will be surprised, shocked, not thinking the same way as I am, but I will take the risk. I am not a big fan of these methods for languages quite distant from your own, or at least some of these that you know already. So for most of us, languages from the Caucasus are just that. They are distant from our own languages, they are distant from other languages that we know as well. So immersion can work with the Caucasian languages, but only in very specific situations. And I've tested it myself. I had lots of thoughts and proved that in some situations it's working and in many situations it's not working. And if you would like to hear more about this, we can record a separate episode about this particular topic and how to use this method and how to not to use these methods, not to be like deep dive into language and not to drown in it. So just let us know in the comments under today's episode, and if there will be someone who wants to listen to this, we'll prepare about immersion versus or with the languages of the Caucasus. And if I said that I'm not a big fan, so what is the alternative? So what helps us learn our languages, so I mean the languages of the Caucasus, instead of immersion, is a regular quick revision. I talked about this concept in previous couple of episodes ago, in the previous episodes of the Caucasus podcast, and we'll also link this episode in the description if you would like to hear more or come back, revise and refresh, let's say, the concept. But just to tell you briefly, these are short, very like 5 minutes, up to 5 minutes, let's say, exercises, often without taking out your books or leisurely based on what you already know. So our students do quick revisions on their way, for example, to work, when they are commuting, standing in queues, waiting for something, while walking in the park or doing dishes, etc. So I spent most of the year doing also these mini exercises, and I know some of you did too. And I feel that it's really helped me gain fluency in what I already know. And I have been already learning in Armenian, Azerbaijani, and Georgian. And we have also been sending you these ideas and for quick revisions in the newsletter for 6 months already. And I know it's time right now for a small announcement. So we have decided to move the weekly quick revision to the podcast from the newsletter. So once a week, instead of newsletter, there will be a short episode within our Caucasus podcast with a revision and also a piece of information how I'm doing, some examples, how I'm doing it with Azerbaijani, Armenian and Georgian. Like how you can use it as well. Maybe that will be inspiration. And yes, I'm coming right now to my second announcement. So we've decided to suspend the newsletter. And our Wednesday episodes will be like a mini newsletter-ish thing within the podcast. We are experimenting. I know I'm very curious what will be your thoughts after a couple of weeks. And the feedback that we have been receiving from you is that you like the quick revisions. It's like a reminder that you can do something quick no matter how your week is busy or not, etc. So then I hope it will be fun for you to hear it within the podcast as a separate, a little bit series, but everything will be within the Caucasus podcast. And the thing that really helped me then to learn Georgian, Armenian and Azerbaijani in 2025 is exactly these quick revisions. So as we were talking about something that it is risky and maybe a little bit shocking, so the third thing is that I stopped following accounts with, let's call it, interesting facts about the languages, about a list of words, etc. So yes, I unsubscribed and stopped scrolling through Armenian, Georgian and Azerbaijani accounts, like the ones for learning languages. These accounts usually have lists of words, a few or a dozen phrases, sometimes like a mini dialogues and things like that. So I stopped following this on social media, on YouTube, etc. And just one that I'm following right now, as it is friend doing that. So this is the main reason. And the reason why I decided to stop following is I noticed that this kind of content is really and very distracting and for me, and it depends my feeling that I'm learning a lot, or to be more precise, I'm spending a lot of time looking at it, at such content, while I don't have that much of results. I have very little visible results out of it. And do you know why? Yeah, because just with watching a video with 6 phrases in Georgian, Armenian, Azerbaijani, you won't learn them and you won't start using them in your own dialogues, in your own speech, etc., because that requires actual learning. And by the way, it doesn't mean that we are leaving social media and we just ban this content in our heads and we just go to the books, etc. There are also very effective methods for learning with this free content online as an addition to the learning process that we have, the core one, let's say. And also, if you'd like an episode about it, how to use this content that we have online, because there's you can find a lot of different quality, and how to actually use it and learn from it, and how it helps you learn just from the posts and vlogs. We also have blog on our website, so you can use it with our blog posts, etc. Let me know if you would like an episode about it. Let us know in the comment and we'll record it, because we actually have fully proven working methods that I have been testing and our students have been testing. So maybe it would be something interesting for you as well. And let me just say, as a little bit of teaser, it is not just random scrolling. There is much more to this. And that is why I'm not longer just following such content online. If I want to use it, I do it very intentionally, and then I can learn with it. But I stopped following, just following the accounts. So maybe right now the fourth, that would be less shocking for some of you. Well, let's see. I came back to handwriting all my notes. I know in the era of computers, tablets, and typing things, this may sound a little bit shocking, but we've already talked about the importance of handwriting, I think many times in this podcast, in the linguistic episodes. And in each of our languages, so Armenian, Georgian, and Azerbaijani, it definitely helps with learning vocab, with learning new grammar, but also it helps with speaking. Yep. And listening comprehension. Shocking? Maybe. But it really works. And to some extent, I still wrote down words by hand, like for last couple of years, because this is usually what I do. I just take some notes during my classes, etc. But this year I came back to my 3-step system that I have. And if you are thinking right now, Asha, come on, who does have time for all of this 3-step system to handwrite? Come on. So each of these steps is part of my weekly review and weekly revisions that I do. Or sometimes I do it like every 2 weeks, part of it if I don't have time, depending, because weeks sometimes get busy. You probably have this problem as well. So the first step is taking handwritten notes during lessons or your study sessions if you are studying independently. And you may call them, I would say, rough notes, like draft versions. I just write it, not thinking whether it looks nice, etc. I just want to be able to read it when I look at this in a couple of days. And the second step is then let's say copying, but to be more precise, rewriting these notes into my notebook. So I have a physical notebook, like a hard copy, let's say. And of course, it can be tablet with stylus. You can write whatever works. The main part is that you have to not type, you just click on the buttons, but you have to actually, on your screen, sorry, I'm old lady, but on your screen as well with touchpad. But the main part is that you physically like write with your hand. Yeah. So I then rewrite new words, verbs, conjugations, everything that appears during the lesson, some of the notes, etc. And I try to do this in between lessons or in between each 2 lessons. So if I won't manage to do that after each and every lesson, because sometimes I have, for example, Georgian, I have twice a week. So sometimes it is hard to do that within the week. Sometimes I just sit on a Saturday and I do that. And thanks to this, I also check if I have any questions from the last lesson or the last 2 lessons. Because the system is like that. If I won't think about it for a second, what was during my class, I'm not able to think whether I understand truly everything. And it's very often I have additional, especially during my Georgian, because this is much more advanced than Armenian and Azerbaijani, of course. Then I have just additional questions about some verbs, about some forms, about some phrases, etc. So then I just come back to my next lesson with already sets of prepared set of questions additionally. And this is if the reason for that is very simple. If I haven't thought about these questions, I wouldn't have the answers. If I wouldn't have the answers from my teacher, or I'm just checking something online additionally, or I'm checking in some dictionaries, and then I'm coming back with my questions, and then I'm able to have the answers, and I'm able to learn better. And this is my second step. You don't have to go as far as I'm doing it. The main part is just to rewrite it, to look at it once again, to think about it, and that also works. And the step 3 is something that I added this year. This is exactly what I haven't been doing for a couple of years. I just somehow forgot about it. And this is reviewing notes from, let's say, a few months ago and checking what I already know. And of course, I am aware there are flashcards, applications, something that they would reshuffle, and there is an algorithm behind it, and you just click on them and you can learn whatever they give you. And I use it sometimes, not as often. Because I was a big fan of it, I stopped, and I noticed that it is, to be honest, it doesn't give you, and it yields less results than if you actually handwrite something. That is a little bit shocking, but this is in general how our brain works. Maybe this is also another topic for another episode. And I would call it epiphany moment came with when I was cleaning out my shelves, and I was thinking what I can throw out, whether I need some things, some papers. And I realized that I had 5 different Georgian vocabulary notebooks. So something that I've handwritten myself, based on my lessons. And I wasn't really sure if I could just throw them away because I know everything, or, for example, if there is something that I haven't learned yet because or I've just forgotten. So this came as a result, the step 3. So during one of my revision sessions that I'm doing, I'm not just focusing on something that it is new, something I just looked at during my classes. I just go back to these old notebooks and, for example, just go and browse a page in one sitting of this a revision session. Not only I can see my progress, which is lots of fun, and I think you also like this, that you can see the progress on your own in language, but I also can fill in, I would say, any gaps, because this really helps me with regular learning and revisions, because simply it is impossible to learn everything forever. So unused words, when you are not using these words, and it is impossible to use every word that you have ever learned in your life all the time, or phrases, simply just get somehow lost in your head somewhere, and repeating them regularly helps keep them relatively close, let's say, in the depths of your memory. And it proved in 2025 that it is working. And maybe it will inspire you to go through your old notes as well. And By the way, we also often incorporate handwriting as an exercise into our courses, group courses and online courses with a teacher. When you're asked, for example, to write down specific sentences or sometimes write them and translate, etc., as a part of your review exercises. Or, for example, write down the answers during listening exercise, and then you have to write down, of course, in the language that you're learning with the alphabet that is used for this language. And this is also one of the reasons why we have lots of exercises in our textbooks for Georgian, and also in the self-paced course where we do encourage you to do some of the exercises also on the piece of paper to write them down, not just click it as an interactive one. Yeah, so it really works. Yes, there is a, let's say, science behind it, but we leave science for another episode. And the final of top 5. This is creating my own mini exercises. And you don't have to be let's say, methodologist in teaching adults or a business and language trainer and coach with many years of experience, like me, for example, to use this method. The key word here is mini exercises, so tiny ones. No matter how hard we try, I mean teachers and textbook authors, we cannot come up with exercises for every possible linguistic need of our students. In our courses, we regularly ask directly our students what is right now the biggest challenge, the biggest problem, and which words, for example, are the hardest to remember. And we design additional exercises accordingly. This is proof that since I've been teaching adults it is almost 2 decades. It sounds scary, but it is. Every semester, at least one person surprises me with a slightly different need. It doesn't mean that this is completely different what other people need so far, but this is more like different angle, let's say. Or different words and different phrases that are hard for them. And that always really pleases me because it gives me the motivation and also the opportunity to present a given topic from yet another perspective. And it just boosts my creativity as well. This is fun. And that gives us additional exercises just tailor-made for your needs. And this is one of the reasons why our Georgian textbooks have so many exercises, by the way. And we focus so much on you having opportunity to exercise and work with things that you're learning in each and every chapter. And by the way, there will be even more exercises because we are halfway through writing the workbook for our first textbook, A1.1. And in the self-paced Georgian course available on our website, there are even more exercises because there are new ones are being added all the time. We have more interactive ones that are not in the textbook itself, but they are in the group courses used and in the self-paced Georgian course as well, including the ones for speaking practice. We are also testing exercises and exercise concepts, like saying that you can practice speaking on your own, also within the self-paced Georgian course without teacher. And maybe this is a good moment to say that we are also planning not only new textbooks for Georgian on more advanced levels, so the next, let's say, next books in the row, but also we are working on first editions of textbooks in Armenian and Azerbaijani, fingers crossed, and we'll be informing you if you'll have any already dates of the launch of the premiere of such textbooks. We'll be informing you in the Caucasus podcast. That's fun in 2026, fingers crossed for us and for you as well. So returning to what's helped me in 2025, it was both doing mini exercises, like I would say quick, often interactive ones, and also creating them myself. So you can do this too. I have an example for you. Today, write down 5 words in the language that you're learning, whatever comes to your mind. You can write them down like handwrite, it will be fun as well. Or you can, if you don't have possibility, you can write them on your phone, etc. You can record them if you prefer. And tomorrow, because the main part is you don't lose them, the main parts tomorrow add their English equivalent or other language that you prefer, not English, and just to translate them. This is mini exercise. It is up to 5 minutes and it's already good revision. A version for these of you who are slightly more advanced in the language that you're learning, instead of just translating, add definitions in the language that you're learning. So, for example, you are learning Armenian, and you wrote the Armenian equivalent of father, and tomorrow you are trying within one very simple sentence, for example, someone who has a baby. Yeah, and this is a man, because that we don't want to have than mother. So very simple definition, just to write in the language that you're learning. This is exactly mini exercise that you can do. Such simple exercises, like up to 5 minutes long, will appear also in this new series, Quick Revision Methods, that we'll have in our podcast. So if you're struggling to come up with your own ideas, just listen to our new podcast series and receive like ready-made, ready-to-use exercises from us. Exactly. And for me, the realization that my own exercises can be helpful came at work. It won't be shocking because I own a linguistic center. And besides teaching you Georgian, that this is what I do in Języki Kaukazu, languages of the Caucasus, and also besides all of the other responsibilities that come with being the owner of Języki Kaukazu, I'm also responsible for creating interactive exercises and visual aids, some comic book style, some pictures, etc., stories for you to tell during the lessons at our center. And I've already created hundreds. Yes, we are not at 1,000, but we are very close to of such exercises for Georgian. And I know the tools already that we use that work for us, that work for you, because our goal is also for you to have interactive exercises when you don't have to log in anywhere. And just give another place your email address, passwords, etc. So I know the tools that we use, and that's why for Armenian and Azerbaijani, we often work with our teachers to determine which interactive and visual exercises to create additionally for you, and then I prepare them. Of course, before they reach you, so you use them as a homework, you use them during lesson, they undergo proofreading and verification. That's obvious. But my task also is let's say physically, if you can call it, because they are interactive and digital. So my task is just to do them. And do you know what I noticed after creating a couple of dozens or a dozen of such exercises for you in Armenian and Azerbaijani? I discovered that I repeated and reviewed certain words or topics even better than I would have done it, like with a ready-made exercises that someone would have done it for me. And that's the reason why I decided to put it also in my top 5, because it really boosts the learning process. I noticed that it works like that when I just do exercise, which is also great. Just not to get me wrong, doing ready-made exercises, this is awesome. And if you do a little bit of like thinking how we can use whatever we know or think about this particular, for example, these definitions that I mentioned. Yeah, you don't have to just match the word with the definition, but you have to think on your own. What is the definition of this word within the phrases and words and vocab and grammar that you already know? Yep. This is what works as a mini exercise that you can do on your own. So these are my top 5 methods, things that really helped me when I was learning languages in 2025. Their arrangements, by the way, it's also not accidental. I've arranged them from 1 to 5 according to the things that are worth implementing first to your Georgian, Armenian, or Azerbaijani learning routine. Let's call it fancy. This is, of course, my suggestion. I would do it this way. But the main part is that you can't implement them or do them all at once, because it will be simply too much, and you, after some time, you decide this is more too time consuming, and then you will quit. This is not something that we are eager to see. So my suggestion would be to pick one. I would start with the homework, but it is up to you. If you're not doing that, of course, right now, and to start with just one and implement it. And then if you're ready, just pick the other one and add it to your learning routine. So I'm curious if any of these methods are your favorite, you like it, and you say, yes, now I will start doing it from day one. Or maybe you disagree with something. I'm more than happy to also hear that and see that. So let us know in the comments. We can discuss. Also, in the comments below the podcasts in your podcasting app, because majority of podcasting apps right now allow you to leave some comments, or on our YouTube as well. And finally, of course, I do invite you to learn with us. You can choose the live courses, and we can, on-demand, tailor-made them for you, or individual as well. Or you can just use our self-study materials that we have on our website. If any of the topics that I mentioned during podcasts sound like a fun episode for you, also let us know in the comments, because my goal is to record something that you find useful, or you want to hear it, not just for me to have fun writing and talking about it. So thank you very much for today, and see you in the next episode of the Caucasus Podcast. Bye bye.